brilliant beauty of God. It is the learning of this journey within form. The learning is to learn to accept the brilliance within that has absolutely nothing to do with an identity that's been made within incarnation. As you let go and surrender the small identity that's been made in the name of separation, as you willingly, happily pour all of this false identity into the bonfire of love, the truth of the brilliant beauty that is within begins to be recognized. That brilliant beauty has no caveats of proof. There is never 1 second, one element of time where the divine creator of all that is, the truth of God, the universal wisdom, has never sought, could never seek proof of worth. In the truth of love, there can be nothing to prove because everything is all that is. And everything that has been made up has to willingly be surrendered, willingly tossed into the bonfire of love, happily watching it disintegrate and recognizing in that happiness that it was never worth anything. And as you open through surrender to the brilliance of love, the pure joy, innocence, and harmony that is the eternal light of all love that you are. The universe comes out of its nightmare of separation that's been self-made, that's been fabricated. The nightmare ends because it never was. The courage, the faith of returning home goes against everything that you have learned within time. It has absolutely no resemblance to the truth, none. But the truth stands, having never moved, having never changed, having never altered from its divine, all-encompassing truth of all life. This, the mind that has made separation, the mind of separation, the false identity, this mind cannot conceptualize love. It can't understand it. It can't imagine it even. And yet, as the yes becomes stronger and stronger of the heart, the willing heart, as that willing heart opens and becomes the power of God again, the recognition comes. It just doesn't come from the mind that made separation. It comes within the stillness, comes within the quiet, that divine place of humility that says, I don't know, but I am willing to learn. I am willing to be shown the way, moment to moment. I put my faith, I put my trust into the promise of love itself. Because the heart, the soul of oneness, has always been aware at its deepest, most precious point that only love is real, and that there is nothing else to win. There is nothing else to do. There is nothing else. There is no other purpose in the walk of love. All through the journey, there are awarenesses. Sometimes they last for a second, sometimes even less, sometimes just a wisp. Sometimes they come full force into the awareness of truth. And those awarenesses are the strength of truth that continue to lead you. Those awarenesses of truth, when you have that second of awareness, that moment of awareness, that minute of awareness of the purity of love's exquisite being, when you have that awareness, it cannot be denied. It goes so beyond all thought, all concepts. And the purity of its truth is recognized, even if it's just for a second. It goes so beyond that second, that moment of truth. Everything that has been made up in the belief of separation is so nothing when held against the flame of truth. When you open to that awareness even for a second, you can no longer worship the illusion, because it really isn't anything. Just a bunch of dramas, stories, belief of time, belief of differences, levels, degrees, the belief of separation through good and bad and right and wrong, more and less. All knowing that has meant nothing. The happiness of accepting, I was mistaken. I was mistaken. Thank God I was mistaken. And in that happiness of the mistake, that it was all a mistaken identity, the embrace of the purity and innocence that the divine one self has always been. The pain, not only of battle, but the pain of trying to prove worth and comparisons and trying to get admiration or respect or being seen or winning is so painful when it's truly seen in the light of love. When the light of love shines its light on the illusion, you can see the pain of believing that there is a battleground of proving. And that pain is just the sleep state that doesn't recognize how futile it is to try to prove anything, because it never can bring love. It never can bring peace. It can never produce anything of love. Holding others hostage in identities is the nightmare of separation, especially when the recognition hasn't yet come to the heart, to the awareness that it is just a nightmare. And yet every step of love, every moment in this journey of love, every moment is the opportunity to forgive the made-up identity, to truly let it go, and to just come and rest. Resting in God, learning to rest in God, opening the doors of communion and asking God, asking the divine spirit of all love, show me the way. I'm ready. Take me, show me, lead me, teach me. Teach me in every moment as I bring my willingness forward. Teach me the truth of all the mysteries of love itself. Teach me. Teach me how to recognize the brilliance in every beloved. Teach me how to have enough faith to no longer be afraid of home, to no longer be afraid of dissolving into love. Step by step, moment by moment, love is calling. Love is always calling. In the stillness of love, in that moment, in the true, beautiful stillness, where the mind is stilled and the yes is present, you can hear. You can hear the voice of love. You can hear the singing of God's echo. You can feel the brilliance of the vibration of love in the stillness, in that quiet, beautiful rest. As you choose to rest in God, you sink, you open. Where does this rest come from? It comes from trusting, just trusting that love only offers love. Love only offers blessings. Love only offers light. In the stillness, in the rest, God is recognized. God is met. And eventually the realization comes, oh, God was never away. I was just too lost in the screaming of fear and pain, of knowing. Take that leap, the leap into the quiet, the leap into the trust and faith that love is right in your heart. God has always been your heart. That's why the heart has been closed off. Fear of God, fear of love. But love is calling, constantly calling, to let the heart open and breathe. Let the heart breathe. Let the heart open to its joy, its celebration, its beauty, its radiance, as it rejoins all of life, all of the life force of God. Return home. Even though you never really left, come out of the nightmare. Recognize it for what it is, the nightmare, and come home to the stillness where you are adored. The love that you have been longing for in every lifetime is waiting to be met in the heart, where there is no knowing from the world. Open the heart and return, surrendering the mind back to God, to be cleansed of all its wild imaginings, of all of its wild made-up identities, cleansed by the divine alchemy of love's healing. This love is calling you home. This love is calling you, letting it all the made up life drop away. Letting it drop away because you do want to return, and letting it drop away so that every beloved who is in this journey with you can let it drop away also. Through your peace, through your harmony, through your acceptance of joy within the quiet. One heart affirming in love that here in the infinite circle of love, there is only one. All life is here in the infinite circle of love. As you step into the infinite circle of love, you remember. You remember that this is where you belong. This is where you truly exist, in the infinite circle of love. Letting go of all personalities, letting go of all identities, letting go of all the past and the future, and being here in love, as love, with love, through love. One presence here. This divine life force of God is all that exists. True life, true love, true oneness for all eternity. One heart. In this moment, the willingness to take that leap from moment to moment, and the willingness to participate in love's calling by questioning every thought to its authenticity of love. Is it coming from God, or is it coming from the past? The divine choice of freedom. Choosing freedom by choosing what you worship, by choosing where you put your faith. The quiet voice of love, or the screaming voice of the past. Let your prayer be that you want to recognize which is false and which is true. Let your prayer be the yearning of your heart that wants to recognize so that you can choose clearly, easily, choosing the quiet voice of love and the brilliant light of all that is. As the heart says yes. In this moment, allowing prayer to be in the center of your heart and your intention, and to realize and to accept that all the offerings of love and prayers that have come from the masters that have walked before are the gift of love. To take these sacred offerings and to really recognize them for their divine brilliance and for their loving gift, and to truly open to all the prayers and all the teachings that have been offered by the masters that have walked before, and live in the gratitude of the heart, for the blessed teachings that will bring you home, the willingness to accept these teachings in every moment and to turn to the truth rather than the habit of knowing. Grateful to learn. Oh, Father, I pray for tenderness. Oh, Father, I pray for the love. I pray for the awareness of my inner worth. I open up my heart to receive you, Father, to know the holy light, so I can see. Oh, Father, I pray for tenderness. Oh, Father, I pray for the love. I pray for the awareness of my inner worth. Your inner worth. Your inner worth that has always been completely present. Your inner worth that has no connection to the identity that's been made, but is always waiting to be discovered through love, through prayer, through the quiet stillness. The dawn has arrived, resplendently the dawn has arrived. The dawn of the new day, the moment of remembering. My Father is here, that is where he is. And my mother is here, always here. The dawn has arrived, illuminating resplendently the new day. My mother is here with open arms and with her roses of crystal purity. And the heart became resplendent and bloomed with all this love. My mother is here, oh yes she is. My Father is here with great jubilation, resplendently illuminating. It is dawn and the sun has risen. In the resplendence of the divine light, love is remembered. Love is accepted. The sun has risen, illuminating as we all receive the truth of love deeply into the heart. This is the love of all divine beings that have walked and shown the way. And now we arrive in the truth of love as love comes into the heart and is remembered. Amanheceu, resplandeceu, amanheceu um novo dia. Meu Pai é lá, ela que ela está, minha mãe está, é o seu altar. Amanheceu, iluminou, resplandeceu um novo dia. Minha mãe está lá, de braços abertos, e suas rosas, puras e de cristal, resplandeceu o coração de sabor roxo, todo es o amor. Minha mãe está lá sim, lá está meu pai, em grande júbilo, resplandeceu, iluminou, e a louvada o sol nasceu no resplandor da divina luz. Nosso Mãe nos traz, o menino Jesus. O sol nasceu, iluminou. Vamos receber o Salvador. Ele é menino, ele é o amor que agora chega aos corações. To be in the singing heart all day. The singing heart, affirming, praising, filled with gratitude, filled with the deep appreciation that there is nothing ever to worry about, nothing ever to see as a challenge or as difficult or as a struggle, but to open to the resplendence of God's love, where you can gently let yourself be in the boat and let the river take you, returning, trusting that God will not leave you without. It's not possible. It's only the mind of insanity that believes that you can be without, that you can be lacking. There is nothing but abundance in the truth of love's light, always pouring, always regenerating, always beginning again, every moment new, every moment pure. And the willingness to embrace and step into that truth by letting go of the mind and surrendering the heart and the mind back to God, and allowing the power of love to transform. Healing does not occur by believing you know something. Healing occurs in the letting go of the knowing and accepting the power of God's loving transformation. With everything that you offer, that you surrender into the hands of God, brilliant light enters where that space has been made, letting go of the lies, opening all doors, opening all windows of truth in each moment, the yes of love. Imagination does not exist. For me, and for the one who is one with God, imagination does not exist. Whatever you might be able to do in a dream or a thought or a fantasy, I can literally pull from my pocket or just make appear in my hand. What kind of world is this then that we live in? It has been make-believe since the beginning and does not know any other way to act. Every moment of every day is the willingness to remember that, of course, knowing includes imagination. All day long, the ego mind is making imaginings. It's imagining scenarios all day long without even being really aware of it. And yet, giving all attention to it, even when it's not recognized. The mind system of game playing, where you can believe that you're not thinking of anything at all, and yet your whole mind is given over to imaginings and fantasies and conclusions and assessments all day long, is a real trick that the ego mind has developed to give you the illusion that you're not that lost in the illusion. So illusion is being used to give you the illusion that you're not that lost. And of course, the belief is there, constantly reaffirmed by the ego, that your thoughts have such validity that they are really worth publishing. That others would be so appreciative of knowing these insane thoughts that they must be worth publishing. Or at least you should write them down and keep them to be able to show you were right when you finally get to the place where you think you're going to be right. This is the game that the ego plays all the time. But to really accept that imagination does not exist and that it's such a waste of your journey, that decision, that choice is one that eventually every seeker of truth, everyone that is wanting to remember truth, everyone will have to come to that realization that all of this fantasy and imagining is actually the conduit of pain. It's an amazing illusion to believe that you would choose to make pain by believing in your thoughts of separation and not making the connection, connecting the dots, that that's where the pain is coming from. That the pain is not coming from out there. The pain is not coming from back there. In the past, you've brought that pain, that belief of pain, it's all in your suitcases that you carry with you, and that you pull out as your imaginings and your fantasies. And all the pain keeps showing up, and it's always like a big surprise. And yet very familiar. To just imagine for a moment fantasize for a moment. Think about the future for a moment of how it should be, how you want it to be, what your expectations are, what you believe is good rather than bad, what you see as worthwhile rather than a waste, what you believe your life should look like. It's a game that keeps getting played in believing that it will succeed at some time to come to its full potential. But it can't. It has no potential. Illusion can't have potential. All it can do is repeat its knowing again and again and again. To really, really accept that your worth will not come from your mind. And it will not come from the outside that your mind has projected. That longing to have worth is what every beloved shares in the belief of separation. Every beloved is looking for the same worth and believing in their own strategies of how to get it. The games look a little different, but they're all the same. And none of them work. And that's really what every master that has walked the earth to serve humanity's remembering, every master has pointed to the same truth. Stop believing that something outside yourself is going to bring you love or worth. Every beloved, in the belief of separation, believes in a wounded heart, believes that the heart has been wounded. Many believe that the heart is so wounded that it's beyond repair, that it will never be repaired. This is the belief in depression. This is the belief in depression of believing that there is something outside you that can give you something, and you're not getting it. It's not true. It is true you're not going to get it from the outside. But the wounded heart is a perception. The wounded heart is not real. It comes from the past that you made in the belief of battle and separation from God that got played out in everyone's past. Everyone's. Imagine the surprise for everyone's identity when you realize and accept deeply that your past not only was not true, but was not by degrees the terrible journey comparative to somebody else's. All the time, imagination is running, fantasy is running. There's a running of the belief that this wound is more than others. This wound is the big wound. This wound is the one that's the most horrible, or at least it lives in the club with the most wounded. All beliefs of separation are all equally efficient. Whether you believe in separation and that you've assessed and given your past an assessment of it wasn't so bad, it's all still illusion. The ego would not have a chance of convincing everyone of the illusion if the illusion looked all the same, if everyone had an equal portion of the belief of separation. So the ego has to use levels and degrees to make it seem really viable, that one beloved is more removed from love than another, is more distant from the truth than another, that others have evolved enough that they can find love more easily or closer to it. All of these are made up. This is all part of the imagination. This is all part of the make-believe. The belief that there are levels and degrees and differences even in the illusion. None of it is true. There is nothing that you can parse out from the illusion to keep. There's nothing that you can, kind of quarter off and keep this part for later. It's all untrue. You can't use part of it. You can't bargain. You can't play games with using parts and bits of it that you think are viable, that you have decided are really acceptable to you now. And maybe you'll give them up later, but not now. If you make that decision, it's perfectly your choice. But it's not to fool yourself into thinking that this is helpful, that this is somehow a good strategy to stay in control, as if there is actually anything to control. To accept that the world has been make-believe from its conception is to really be willing to put yourself into the hands of God. And it's also in perfect harmony that as you let go, as you surrender the belief of this make-believe world, that as you're ready to let that go, that you have the faith and you have the willingness to go into that quiet space with God and commune with the beloved. That love will satisfy all cravings that have ever been thought of. That love, that communion, will bring you to the awareness of the brilliance of your being, to see through the light of God, to be able to see how God sees you, is to never again have a need or a want for anything. Settling for petty needs and petty cravings within the world, they are completely diminished in the light of God, in that divine communion. And there is no one who does not have access to God's love. No one. There is no one that has ever incarnated that has not had access. No one has been more insane and could not have access to love. No one could be so depraved, so deprived within the illusion that they lose access to God. No imagination, no illusion, no identity that has ever been produced by the insanity of the mind is not still connected to the light of God. That would be extremely cruel to believe that some are able to connect with God and some are not, by some illusion of their wrongdoing, of their development, of their road that they chose. It's not possible. There is no cruelty in God. That cruelty comes from the illusion of imagination and fantasy. Cruelty is the domain of the ego, and it has refined cruelty to an art form, believing that cruelty has validity. There is no cruelty in God. There is no cruelty in love. And there is no one that has ever walked in the belief of separation that does not have access to the divine. Many say they don't. Many are determined to be right, that they can't hear God, that they can't connect with God, that they don't have whatever it takes. No, these are just strategies that humanity has made in order to prove lack, to prove that there is scarcity and that there really are differences and that there really are levels and degrees of goodness. These things are all made up. Not one of them has any truth. Nothing. To give yourself to the quiet, to give yourself to that stillness of love, to open to the divine, to find that precious place, to have that be your divine purpose, is to recognize what you're truly here for. And the way of learning of God is to offer love, to offer peace and harmony, and be unwilling to blame or assess or have an opinion about anyone. Removing those concepts of blame, removing the concepts of assessments and judgment, of others, and to only be willing to offer peace, to offer your heart, to offer the servant's heart, which means I'm willing to see you as the divine of God. I'm willing to see that only God is real. By allowing the power of God to show me your brilliance. And I can see your brilliance as I surrender all assessments, all judgments, all opinions, all blame, everything surrendered. Not only will you see the brilliance of God, that reflection will reflect back, and you will find the brilliance within. And you will realize in that divine alchemy of love's healing that there was only one the whole time. There wasn't another with a different story, with a different role, with a different identity, with a different makeup, with a different culture, with a different anything. Nothing. All love, all truth, all light. Coming straight home. The mind is so insistent on having its fantasies and imagination that it makes up hundreds all day long. Hundreds of imaginations are going on all day long. And they have to be brought forward out of the trance where you're not aware of them running into the light so that you can see them for what they are and choose. This is not, there's no truth of God here. I'm making something up about something that I don't know. How would I know how to look at this? How would I be able to see this with love when I'm just making something up? Whatever it is, it's not of peace and joy and harmony. It's not of God, period. And it's not a halfway house. It's not a halfway place where you can say, well, the outcome might be okay. They might, this might be, yeah, I think that this is going to work. Just making up things instead of allowing your divine self to actually open to the brilliance of where God wants to take you. And where God wants to take you in light is so brilliant that it has no relationship at all to what the imagination is making up. No connection at all. It's not even possible. It's completely fabricated. It has no truth in it at all. That awareness is so essential because part of the ego's game is pretending. That's part of the imagination. Let's pretend that we know something. Let's pretend that this makes so much sense, that I figured this out, that I spent a lot of time figuring this out. That's why I think I should have a book about it, because I've spent so much time thinking about this and figuring it out. And God is just patiently waiting for you to stop your wild imaginings and making up things so that you can really commune with love. You can really open to the brilliance that your divine self is waiting to be recognized. And there is nothing, there is no hurdle that is difficult. I have said so many times that in the divine teachings of love, my teacher said to me, one of my brilliant teachers said to me, your healing is not difficult. Your remembering is not difficult. Your resistance to it is your difficulty. And then having to accept, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm resistant. Thank you for showing me my resistance once again, because it has a vengeance. That resistance has a vengeance. But I don't have to believe in that vengeance. I don't have to believe in the vengeance of the resistance. That's all smoke and mirrors. I choose what I want. I choose what I want. In awakening, there's no more choice, because there's nothing to choose between anymore. It's only love. But until that place, it is the great gift to recognize that you have choice, and that it's for the only time of that recognition that you actually have the choice, that choice is the power of your yes, and to use that power of choice all the time. Don't take a back seat to healing. Don't sit in the back and say, oh, I can do whatever I want and I just want to be rescued. Healing doesn't work that way. You made up an identity. You're not condemned for it, but you have condemned yourself for believing in a false life, a false identity. And because you made up the identity, I made up the identity in the identity. Because we made up an identity in our belief of separation, we have to choose what we want. Because we have that freedom. That's our only freedom while in the belief of separation, is the freedom of choice. To choose love and to invite the truth. To want to return home. To want to bathe and be immersed in that devotion to reality. And to begin again in every moment. I choose love. I choose love, and I forgive my insanity of hatred. I forgive my insanity of judgment and condemnations that are not of God, because there is no condemnation in God. There is no judgment in God. There is no battle in God. It doesn't exist. Don't be afraid of shining the light on the lies. Revel in the shining of the light. The gratitude that finally this belief in poison is being let loose so that it can disappear. Recognize it for what it is. Yes, it's just illusion. It's made up. It has no power except the power that you give it. But the power that you give it is the belief that pain and suffering is real. That it's actually occurring because you feel it, because you experience it. So you put your faith in your experiences, you put your faith in what you feel, which is all coming from the mind that made up a separate identity from God and has an endless supply of evidence to make up. But love is always calling. Love is always calling. Can you open to what it means to have no cares, no worries, no anxieties, but merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time? That is your natural state. To be perfectly calm and quiet all the time and joyous in love. That's your natural state. Everything else is completely fabricated. It's the make-believe world of separation. Is it a deep acceptance to accept that you are the light of God? Yes, it is, because you have no reference point to that truth. You can read stories about saints. You can read stories about masters that have entered into the world to serve, and they can be helpful. They can inspire. They can give you strength. And they can give you courage. But you still have to make the choice. Reading a saint's story, reading the story of an awakened master won't bring you to awareness. You have to choose to accept that truth and surrender what you've made to defend against love. Because the illusion has been made to defend against love. It's not a neutral nothing. It's not just illusion for the sake of it being illusion. The purpose is to stay separate. The purpose is to stay in the belief that you are separate from God. And even to the point of rejecting the power of God, rejecting the power of light and of love, rejecting the divine power of alchemy that will transform your awareness. That's what you're choosing. You're choosing the truth and really shining the light on the lies and rejecting them. Nope, not interested. The struggle with the ego mind is a struggle because there is still an element within that is interested. When you're no longer interested, piece of cake. It's the interest, it's the temptation, it's the seduction of what you think you know that keeps calling to you. And as you turn to love, as you turn to the truth of all divine teachings, as you turn to those truths, that seduction becomes less attractive, becomes less viable. And you begin saying, I've been here, done this. Why am I coming back again? It has never brought me anything that I'm actually longing for, which is love, which is harmony, which is peace. It can't, never has, it never will. And finally recognizing that when the guest is no longer welcome, the guest will leave. There's a place in the ego dying that is almost comical, for sure, where the ego's kind of like going, you sure? Sure now. I'm still here, just kind of waiting for that, that hug. Not interested. Do you have that power? Absolutely. That power is within you. That power is your choice of what you truly want. But that's the alignment, because you haven't learned in the world, no one has learned in the world of illusion to accept loving kindness. Everything has been built on self-hatred, self-loathing, and then battling to protect what you believe you loathe. It's insane. But it is loving kindness to accept truth. It is loving kindness to refuse the seduction of the past that is just about battle and pain and suffering. And the belief of winning, and winning what? For how many lifetimes do you have to look at winning and thinking that this is going to be it? This is a perfect reflection of a gambler's addiction. Yeah, I think this time I'm going to win. I'm going to bet it all. I'm going to give my life to it, betting it all on the illusion that this time it's going to give me what I'm looking for. And it is the loving kindness that finally says, it never will give me what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that awareness of a healed heart. I'm looking for the awareness, the peace, of a resting heart. Where the battle seeps out of all the pores and drains away. No longer wanting battle. No longer wanting to be right, to protect, to defend. And no longer willing to be devoted to a body identity that is guaranteed is going to disintegrate because it's not reality. To use the body as the vehicle of love to express only God's love is to use it for its only purpose that it could possibly have, a temporary purpose of offering love, of demonstrating love, expressing love, expressing peace, expressing welcome, expressing gratitude, expressing kindness, expressing love and recognizing nothing to get, only love to offer. holding in the heart the acceptance that everything is already here. Everything of the truth of love is already here. Even when I'm not aware of it, it's here. I put my faith there. And I stop the pursuit of trying to get something from the world that can't offer really anything. The simple question, am I offering love? Am I offering peace? Am I offering joy? Am I offering kindness? Show me the way, dear God. Show me the truth of kindness. Show me the truth of peace. Show me the truth of joy. Show me the way. Teach me. Teach me as I sit at the feet of love. Teach me how to love. I remember being so surprised, had an idea about one of the teachers that was one of my main teachers, and how I thought I knew who he was until I read his teachings. And his teachings were just filled with humility. They weren't filled with being the top gun. They weren't filled with being the achiever. They were filled with humility, asking God to teach him how to love, asking God to open his heart to the truth, to awaken to the brilliance of God's love. That's how he taught me, through his humility, through his willingness to learn, to be the ever grateful student of love, learning in every moment, being available for learning in every moment, and how easily and beautifully the journey can unfold in that willingness to learn. The servant's heart was demonstrated every day in his offerings. And that is the way of love, is opening to the servant's heart that doesn't look for anything, but only offers and learns to offer love, to offer peace. Where is the door to God? It's in your yes. It's in your willingness to know nothing and learn everything. The door to God is with you always, waiting for you to answer the door and open the door. Don't be afraid of the door. And to accept that no one is without that divine communion. No one. The only thing that stops you from being in communion is the unwillingness to listen and wanting to listen to your own mind, your own thoughts, your own conclusions, your own theories that can't bring you anything of truth. Show me the way. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because love will direct me. What a brilliant gift of love to accept that declaration. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do. Moment to moment, love will direct me. I don't know anything. Show me the way. And love answers, always answers. It's not possible for love not to answer. Love is always answering, because love is always offering. Love is always flowing. Love is always without conditions. You don't have to do anything, ever. There is nothing you can do to earn love. It's not possible. Love is what you are. Love is all that is. The struggle can end. The battle can end right now, because it means nothing and it has no purpose except to say, hey, look at me. I believe in struggle. Hey, look at me. I believe in my story. Hey, look at me. I believe in separation. Don't settle. Never settle for the complacency of knowing, for the insidious untruth of knowing. Let it fall into the bonfire of love, so that you can come into that brilliant awareness of choice, the brilliant awareness that God is in your breath. God is in your silent, quiet place of love. Right here, right now, always here. Never distant. The only distance is by your choice. When you say no, I know, you choose to close a door. And even though God can never be distant from you, because there's only oneness, you can be completely unaware that love is right here by believing in what you think you know and your experiences and how you feel, because that's what you've relied on in the journey of pain and suffering. Open to the power, no more. I choose love because it's the only thing that really exists. It is reality. It is all that is. Yes, to love.